outside? Should I run and hide? How do I take my company worldwide? Do you love the law? Did you watch Hee-Haw? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw? What's it like in court? Favorite sport? Can you help with my book report? Is my hair too long? Am I right or wrong? And do you mind if I sing along to anything? Ask Alan anything in the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Ask Alan, the podcast. I'm Alan Crone, the CEO of the Crone Law Firm, and I'm here with Lakethia Glenn, who is the Executive Director of LITE Memphis. That's L-I-T-E Memphis. And I'll go ahead and disclose to everybody, full disclosure, we're business neighbors. LITE Memphis is in the same business as, in the same building as my law firm, although we were just talking about it, they might as well be on Mars because with the pandemic, we're not seeing each other. But Ms. Glenn, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Alan. I'm so happy to join you today.
Oh, it's the pleasure is mine, and I hopefully the pleasure will be our listeners. Your organization is such a great organization with such a great mission. Why don't we lead off with that? Tell, if you would, tell our listeners what you do and why you're trying to do it.
LITE Memphis is a youth entrepreneurship program located right here in Memphis, Tennessee. And our whole mission is equipping African American and Latinx students with 21st century business development skills through the arm of entrepreneurship. So our students just don't come into the program and learn about entrepreneurship. They're actually putting those skills into work, and they actually launched a business venture at the end of the 16-week curriculum-based program. And once they launch their venture, we just don't leave them out there trying to figure out how to do these things. We wrap them with 8 years of support. So our students may choose to go on with their business and we'll help them with that, or they may go on to college and we'll help them with scholarships and funding, paid internships, and really getting into the networking circles you need if you're going to be an entrepreneur or business leader.
Sure. What is the profile of your ideal candidate to be one of your students?
We ask that you be at least 10th grade. Our program is completely free, so there are no fees to consider coming into the program. And we would ask that you identify as African American or Latinx, because for those students, it's what the core focus of our program is, though we do workshops for everyone.
So what kind of curriculum, if a young person wanted to explore your program, what could they expect to learn?
Well, some students come with us with this, we all have this idea of what we want to do as an entrepreneur, and some have no idea at all. So we really focus on ideation and pulling out those students' passion. We talk about branding and what that looks like, identifying, Alan, what the market needs, because it's important for entrepreneurs to know who they're producing for and what they need to produce. And then we really focus on the financial aspect of it, doing basic accounting, knowing unit costs, and how you're going to get a profit by launching these ventures.
And you said it's a 16-week program?
It's a 16-week program.
And I guess these days you're doing it virtually.
We did it completely virtual this past fall. And I'll tell you, ironically enough, even though it was completely virtual, our students still launched ventures. They still have products for sale, even though we have never met them. So they have done an amazing job in this setting.
Wow. I just finished a show with Michael Hooks Jr., and we were talking about entrepreneurship. And I'll ask you a question I asked him and see how your answer may be similar or dissimilar to his. And that is, what do you think is the biggest misconception that young people have about being an entrepreneur?
I believe they think they're going to get rich instantly. Is the first thing, that the biggest misconception of it is not understanding that a small business probably won't turn a profit for 3 to 5 years, a real profit. So that instant wealth is what they may be seeking, that they'll find as an entrepreneur. It is a more of a long road than a short game.
Right. Yeah. He said that was the biggest misconception that he found, was people thinking that you could become an instant success and not realizing that it's a grind.
It is.
Every day. I had a law partner who once said, it stayed with me, that there's a very fine line between being self and unemployed.
That's true. That's very true.
And I think an entrepreneur is constantly flirting with that line. And, I think the book Good to Great talks about being an overnight success. It just takes you 20 years to get there.
That's very true. And entrepreneurs, and COVID has kind of shined a light on that. Entrepreneurs who were doing fairly well before the pandemic have found themselves in a very uncomfortable situation and trying to make sure they're still generating the revenue that they need. So it is a very fine line between being successful and really having to struggle day to day to be able to finance yourself.
Now, I know that you have an internship program, or at least you help folks connect up with internship programs. Who is it affiliated with? How does that work?
Well, at LITE, we actually reach out to local companies and businesses, startups, and place our students in internships in a field that they're looking to get involved in. So we have partnerships with AutoZone, MMBC, Utopia Hospital, various nonprofits and corporations here in Memphis that we place our intern with. We just don't put an intern with a corporation. We want to make sure we're pairing them up with their skill set. And what I love about LITE, because as a young person when I was coming up, I did an internship and it was unpaid. So growing up in Mississippi, I had to choose between an unpaid internship and really generating revenue for myself for the summer. So we offer paid interns to our students that really take away the guesswork and put them in a organization or with a company that's going to help them move forward and gain some really skills that we hope they'll use here in Memphis.
Do those folks have to graduate from your program, or is it kind of an independent program?
No, it is. You have to graduate from our program. We ask that you be a recent high school graduate or in college to qualify for our internship program, but you must be a LITE finalist.
That way, I'm guessing then your partners know that they're getting a candidate who has a certain level of business knowledge because they've been through your program.
Exactly, Alan. What we have heard from our partners is that some of our students are some of the best interns, bar none, that they have brought into their organizations because we prep them to be able to be ready to take whatever position they're offered and be a contribution and an asset to the organization. LITE stays a part of that process throughout the summer. We are really talking to the person that hires our student and really evaluating our student to make sure they're coming away with tangible skills.
Well, let's put a pin in LITE. Let's talk about you for a second. What's your background? Are you from Memphis? Are you a recent immigrant into Memphis?
Yes, I've been in Memphis for about 12 years. I actually grew up in Mound Bayou, Mississippi. It's about 2 hours away from here, south on Highway 61, in the heart of the Mississippi Delta.
My wife's folks come from Leland.
Oh, yeah, I know the area well. That's in that same geographical area, yes.
So I think I've driven through Mound Bayou frequently. So how did you get to Memphis?
Well, I was in Arkansas for many years after graduation, but my family lives in Horn Lake, and my mom is still in Mound Bayou, but my siblings were in Horn Lake, but I did not want to move back to Mississippi at the time. So Memphis was the best choice for me, right on the border, to be a little bit closer to my family so that I could see them from time to time.
Now, how did you, are you the founder of LITE Memphis, or how did you become interested in that kind of work?
Well, I've been here for a year and a half. LITE was founded 7 years ago by a Teach for America teacher who actually founded and saw the need for equity and to be able to create a program like this. And I was originally director of development for Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Mid-South. And I find myself always thinking of businesses that I could launch, or this entrepreneurial spirit that's in me. So when I saw this opportunity, I really wanted to come in and be able to help the students bring their dreams to life. And so I applied, and luckily I was given the opportunity to lead this wonderful organization.
Well, we're so glad that you did. As I said to you off camera, I really have kind of watched your group from afar, and the the mission, I think, is so critical for Memphis, because Memphis really is kind of the home of entrepreneurism in America, whether you're talking about Clarence Saunders or Robert Church, AutoZone, FedEx. How do you see businesses, homegrown businesses, contributing to social equity in Memphis?
Yeah, I'll say this. Memphis is a very unique place. I have lived my whole adult life in the South, in Arkansas and Alabama, but when I got to Memphis, there's a different spirit here. And I would say, to use a colloquial term, almost everyone I met had a side hustle. That is ingrained in the spirit of Memphis, and it plays into the social economic status of what we see here in our city. Though we have a large poverty rate, a lot of our entrepreneurs, they don't have the resources to be able to grow those businesses. So they find themselves really struggling and staying below that poverty line, even as an entrepreneur. So I think that is problematic for our city. But as the light is shining on Memphis right now for entrepreneurship, certainly tech entrepreneurship and medical entrepreneurship, I think that people are starting to realize that entrepreneurs are the baseline of a strong economic system, and especially startup organizations. And they're there to help communities thrive and to build on those social economic aspects to make us better.
You know, one theme of this podcast, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've had this conversation with a lot of different people, and it's always interesting folks' take on it. But it seems like when I was coming up, you know, in the 80s, entrepreneurism really was this kind of far off thing, you know, that people with money started businesses, and just really didn't seem that attainable to me. It seems now that being an entrepreneur is kind of the hot thing. You know, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. How have you seen entrepreneurism change over the last few years?
Alan, you're exactly right. Actually, everyone wants to be their own boss. They want to be an entrepreneur. So that fire is really burning strong in so many people to be able to chart their own path in some ways and be a contributing member of society. And I believe the pandemic has fueled that even more, with the uncertainty of being employed by different companies and not knowing what your tomorrow look like, to be able to have that power in your hands and kind of pour your way yourself, I think, is really fueling that entrepreneurial spirit in people.
Yeah, and you know, so many public figures now, whether it's Jeff Bezos, who you know, recently announced that he was changing his role at Amazon, or Elon Musk, or, you know, you could keep going on and on. A lot of our popular culture icons, where they used to be singers or maybe athletes or whatever, now they're entrepreneurs. Do you see that with the young people that you deal with?
Absolutely. You know, when I was growing up, you wanted to be a basketball player or a football player, whatever your thought process was. But our students are starting businesses in their homes right now. A big thing, they're making their personalized T-shirts. And I believe technology has fueled some of this. No longer do you have to stand out in the parking lot and try to sell your T-shirts or whatever you're trying to do. Facebook and Instagram allows you to be in an instant marketplace, and it allows for a space for entrepreneurs to thrive.
There's a popular entrepreneur, I don't know, guru, whatever you want to call him, Gary Vaynerchuk, that talks about that thing. And he says, you know, entrepreneur, it's kind of like being a guitar player. You know, if you're a guitar player, nobody has to make you practice. That's all you want to do. And entrepreneurs are kind of the same way. If you've got that in your soul, you're mowing yards or you're doing something when you're young to make money, and that just keeps growing and growing. And Gary talks a lot about, you know, what are you doing today to make your life better? And can you give me any examples of folks that the young people that you've worked with who've taken something, you know, kind of simple and actually turned it into a business?
Oh, certainly. I'll give you a great example of a student I use often. His name is Jaylen Mccarley. He started Greatness Gang. And there's actually he started printing sweaters. And he has now grown that into a business through the channels I just talked about, through social media and Facebook page. And he's never met a stranger. So when you meet him, he'll say, well, will you take a picture in my sweater? Well, it started from there. And now he's doing sweatpants. And he was able to partner with a organization that was founded over the summer because of what happened to George Floyd. It's called the Social Justice League, and they are out of Los Angeles. And they were able to partner with Jaylen to do a customized sock that he's going to be releasing for Black History Month. So that fire that you're talking about for entrepreneurs, if it burns in you, every interaction is an opportunity. And I think that every interaction that Jaylen has, he sees it as an opportunity, and it's afforded him the opportunity to work with the Social Justice League in Interscope Records in Los Angeles.
And, it's amazing how, one opportunity leads to another, and it tends to snowball. And, we talked about being an overnight success, just taking you 20 years to get there. It's hard to go, I guess it happens, but it's hard to go from 0 to 120 in one step. It takes building like you say, building a sweater business, and somebody notices it, and that turns into other things and builds up. And it takes a lot of persistence.
It does. And it takes persistence, and it takes a certain level of dedication that you have to have, and flexibility. Because you have to be flexible. You could start a business having one idea about what you want to do, and the market or circumstances or finances makes you have to pivot, and you have to have that level of flexibility. Paired with perseverance, I believe that entrepreneurship can be for anyone.
Well, Lakethia, let me get conspiratorial with you here for a second. What do you think? You're right in the middle of all of this. What do you think is the biggest? Where's the biggest opportunity for entrepreneurs in 2021? If somebody's looking to start a business, where do you think the opportunities are?
I'm just going to have to go personal here, nothing to do with LITE, but I got my first degree in economics. So I'm going to have to say, you're going to have to find what the market is calling for. And I believe that anything that's helping us get through this pandemic that's unique, to help us address the challenges of COVID is where you should be in the market right now. Anything that's technologically driven, that's making it easier for us to be able to interact with each other, because we're all getting this Zoom fatigue. So if you're able to be somewhat futuristic and help us do some virtual reality type things where we're feeling like we're in person with each other, even though we aren't, I think that is the future. And I think that's where entrepreneurs should be looking to get into, either one of those options.
I think that's really good advice. I always ask people, what's the George Jetson solution to this problem?
That's very true.
Because we can go back to the old solutions, and some solutions are tried and true, but we're in a different world now, and as you say, the pandemic has really accelerated a lot of change that probably would have taken 10 years. For example, Zoom calls probably would have been ubiquitous in 10 years, but now everybody knows how to do them.
That's right.
Any other example like that you can think of that you've seen that you think is an innovation from the pandemic that will be with us after hopefully we get back to a more traditional lifestyle?
I certainly think that Zoom is one example, but another is like Launchpool. I think that's something that's going to be with us forever, where you're actually having these virtual events. I don't think they'll ever go away. And I think that some organizations will adopt this as a way of fundraising, because as a longtime nonprofit professionals, I think nonprofits spend a lot of money putting on these galas only to have a little bit in return. So I believe the way of virtual events will stick around for a while, because people are able to stay in their home and still support the charities that they want to support at a level that they feel like they should do so. And the charity is able to use more funds for operational expenses and carrying out their mission.
Yeah, I think the winners going forward are going to be the people that can combine the technology and the convenience with the personal touch.
That's right.
And you see people doing that now around town, that are able to deliver to deliver food or deliver supplies, but do it in a way that has a personal flair to it, even though that maybe they're having to be socially distanced while they're doing it.
That's true, because what is coming out of this is that something that can never be created or duplicated is that human interaction. So that's what a lot of my peers, myself included, what we're missing is that human interaction. So regardless of the amount of Zoom calls that I'm on, I still miss talking to people and interacting with them. So if someone can come up with something that'll give me that feel of human interaction, I think they'll be on to something spectacular.
Well, maybe offline, you and I can work on that, and we'll make
Let's do it.
$1 billion and solve a whole bunch of problems with just overnight. But
let's do it. I have tons of ideas for this pandemic that you and I need to talk about.
All right, that sounds good. I may take you up on that. I really enjoy practicing law, but it's a tough way to make a living. So
I know that's right.
I think the toughest way to make a living is however you're making a living.
That's true.
Everything. Oh, I wish I was a doctor. I wish I was an architect. I wish I was a lawyer. Whatever you're not, that's what looks good.
That's true. Running a nonprofit through a pandemic, that is something that'll keep you up at night. But so being a lawyer sounds pretty good sometimes.
Well, that's an interesting. How has your day-to-day been affected by the pandemic, and how has LITE Memphis overcome the obstacles that chance has thrown in your way this year?
LITE Memphis we have been so lucky in all this, because a lot of our organization was not able to survive the pandemic. We have been, a lot of our foundations, individual donors have really stepped up and helped us sustain, and understanding that for us to continue to educate our kids is very important during this time. And so we have done well. We're stable. We're looking forward to continuing on through this year and beyond, foreseeing no other traumatic things or pandemic-like events happen. We're going to be okay, and we're going to continue to deliver for our students, because if nothing else, Memphis deserves these young business leaders and entrepreneurs that we're producing through this program.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more, and I think it's programs like yours and Junior Achievement and some of these other groups that are helping to do that. Y'all are helping, combined probably hundreds, maybe thousands of kids. We need to be helping tens of thousands of kids be able to see a horizon that's a little bit farther away than maybe what they're growing up with.
And that's the opportunity that we cannot miss, to be able to see yourself outside of your surroundings. That's what creates lawyers and doctors and entrepreneurs. To see someone else doing it, it opens up your mind for the possibilities that you could do it. And I know that's what we do for our students.
What do you think is the state of opportunity for minority-owned businesses in Memphis and the Mid-South these days?
It's a dire state. I mean, a lot of businesses, especially minority-owned women businesses, have closed due to the pandemic, just because their inability to create the revenue streams that we needed to survive. But I believe with the right people in place, and with the government and local businesses coming together to really shine a light on the inequities that happens to these populations, I believe we can get through this. And Alan, I firmly believe that the last year has changed things significantly for small business owners that are trying to make it. And people are starting to pay attention that those businesses need support, and we need to go into our brick and mortars and support those businesses and support minority-owned businesses as well.
Yeah, I think one of the keys is intentionality. Businesses, even, small law firms like mine, or small businesses, we think, well, what does it really matter where I put my money? I don't have that much money. But it's important to be able to look and see if you can find, not just minority-owned business, but local business when you can, because with just the the numbers, if you go local in Memphis, you're probably going to stumble over a minority-owned business because minorities make up so much of the population of Memphis. But you've got to be intentional about it, and I think that's the key. And if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're a business, or you're the purchaser for a business, and you're not asking, is there a minority vendor I could use and at least look at them, you need to do that, because that's ultimately a big piece of the puzzle on how Memphis alleviates the poverty problem that it has, is to do more business locally so that those businesses can hire people in the community.
I agree. And those are the two ways that it helps the local community. You hire people in the community, and more than likely, if you're spending with a local entrepreneur, local business, those dollars are staying here in Memphis, and they're recycling in the community and helping with economic stability. So I think that is important to seek out, and as you said, be intentional about where we put our dollars.
Yeah, I mean, particularly when it really doesn't matter. I mean, in the sense that, I don't want to say that, maybe that's probably the wrong way to put it, but when you've got two choices and both are good, going with the vendor that's maybe female owned or minority owned, you're reaching out of your comfort zone to do business with somebody you don't know. It just expands your reach of your own business. It's good business.
That's true.
I really encourage folks to do that.
I agree. If you have to choose between a local chain and a local business, every time you should choose the local business, because one, it'll start to create that personalized service that we all crave occasionally. They'll start to call you by name and really get familiar with you because they're wanting that repeat business. So I think it's prudent for us to be able to choose local businesses.
What do you have any predictions on what's in store for us, hopefully, as we get back to a more traditional lifestyle? What do you think the trends are going to be in terms of the products and services that are going to be in demand as the pandemic subsides?
I think that personal sanitation items like hand sanitizer and face masks, I think they're going to be around for a while. I don't foresee certain segments of the population, and maybe myself included, being comfortable enough to not put on a mask ever again. I just think that we're all going to be more conscious about making sure that our hands are clean, or that we're keeping our distance in a way, at least for the next couple of years. And I think anyone that's in those industries will be able to do well.
Yeah, you got to wonder, I don't want to call anybody's name, but you see commercials for certain businesses, and they talk about how clean they are and how sanitized they are, and you wonder just how was it before?
That's true.
Clean those machines before. That now cleaning is a big deal.
That's true.
They used to say that the worst, the most bacteria laden thing in the world was a remote at a hotel. And I remember hearing that for years, and I would stay in a hotel and it never crossed my mind. Now, if I were going into a hotel, I think I would take a bag of Clorox wipes with me, and I think I'd wipe down everything. And as you say, I'll probably do that going now into the future for a while, because you just never know what disease is out there, I guess.
That's true. It changes the way you think. I mean, I don't leave home without wipes now. And I was in a hotel a few weeks ago, and I always put the remote in like a plastic bag, but I found myself even re-cleaning a clean room. And I don't know if that will ever go away now, just knowing how viruses work and how they mutate. I think I always clean for myself when I'm in public spaces.
Yeah, it's amazing how something, I would love to go back in time, which is the only way I know how to do this. And of course, my time machine hadn't worked in a while, but I'd love to know how they came out of the flu epidemic in the 1920s, how long it took them because it wore off, right? I mean,
that's true.
In 2019, we weren't concerned about it. And I don't remember anybody being concerned about it in the 60s. So at some point between 1920 and 1965, when I was born, it wore off. So I wonder how long that's going to take.
You make a good point. History is the best teachers. And I would think at this point, we all would have researched the Spanish flu and how they got past it. But I have not. I have saw pictures with them with their face covered throughout the process, but I have not really dug into how they got out of it. And I hope the experts that are advising us have done that so that we can kind of get an idea. When this happened last year, I thought it was going to be a 6-month process. I told my staff we'll be back, by the summer. And so now a lot of my partners and companies, we're talking about 2022 because we feel like that 2021 is going to be a replica of 2020.
I have a really good friend who lives in St. Louis, and at the beginning of all of this, maybe the first week, he put together a Zoom happy hour for a lot of his friends in St. Louis and me and some other folks. And so we're on this Zoom call, and it was really one of the first Zoom calls I had on my own little laptop, right? And the first question was, how long is this going to last? And there got to be a pretty spirited debate between 4 and 8 weeks. That's, it's going to be 4 weeks, it's going to be 8 weeks. Nobody could conceive that it would take longer than 8 weeks. I think we were all wrong about that.
Yeah, it's good you all didn't place the bet on that. We all would have lost.
Yeah, another good use of a time machine.
That's true.
To go back and clean up on that. Let's see. So any other of your students that you want to brag on that have shown what the LITE Memphis program can do?
Oh, absolutely. I always brag on our students because I just think they're phenomenal young people. I'll talk about one of our students who she was a NAACP Dreamer for 2019. She's Marissa Pittman. She is very focused on women in politics and how they can really have an impact in that realm. And she launched a venture called Pumps in Politics. And she was actually one of the students that hosted a town hall with Mayor Strickland and Mayor Harris of the summer of 2020. And she also recently just wrote an article, well, I'll say just, but it was actually in October, for Forbes magazine. And she's continuing on with that venture and really getting national spotlight and doing phenomenal things. So LITE, whatever your entrepreneur spirit leads you, wherever it does, we're there to support our students every step of the way. So we have over 319 students that have launched ventures through our program since our inception, and about 10%, so about 31 of those students are still generating revenue with those ventures. So I have more stories than I have time to share.
Well, that's great. How about not-for-profit entrepreneurs? Now, I know that's not exactly entrepreneurism, but starting a not-for-profit, breathing life into it, is very similar to starting a business. Is that on your radar screen, or do you leave that up to other folks?
No, some of our students do start not-for-profit for whatever their passions are. A lot of them deal with, some of our students deal with suicide and hunger, and we usually try to get those students to partner with an organization that's doing the work. Because as you know, Alan, the Mid-South is saturated with nonprofits, and the last thing we want to do is continue to duplicate those services that are already happening. So our students do launch non-for-profit ideas, but when it works for the organization, we kind of want them to pair with other nonprofits in the area.
Sure. Now, I know you can't do this alone. You must have other corporate partners that support you either in the internship program or financially. Who are some of your corporate partners or other community partners that make LITE Memphis possible?
Oh, we could not do our work without amazing support from foundations nationally and locally, and corporations that also support our initiative, like Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so in the Sissy Foundation, we have numerous supporters. And our community partners are significant in the work that we do. We have a great partnership with Junior Achievement and Code Crew and Bridges to be able to bring entrepreneur workshops to our students far and wide. Because as I said at the top of the hour, though LITE focuses African American and Latinx students, we offer workshops to students regardless of their racial demographics.
Well, that's great. If someone wants to get involved with LITE, what are there opportunities for volunteer work?
Absolutely. You do not have to be an entrepreneur to support our students. Our curriculum is run by three certified teachers, so they're instructors. So we have opportunities for volunteers to be coach mentors, where traditionally you would meet with our students once a week in person, but due to the pandemic, you would do that virtually from the comfort of your home. And we also have opportunities for volunteers to be a dream team member. Those are individuals who never meet the students, but we send their assignments, we send their lean canvases, their professional emails to this group of volunteers, and they give much needed feedback to our students on their ideas and their writings. And our last opportunity is one that's called Community Partner Day, where we bring in outside partners. They hear our students pitch their ideas and they give them feedback when our students are about halfway through the process. So as a consumer, you could give feedback to a young entrepreneur that's looking to launch a venture.
Somebody was interested, how would they get in touch with you?
You can go to our website at www.lite.memphis.org, or you can give us a call at 901-209-9119.
All right, we'll put that up throughout the program so that people will see the number and see the website. I really would urge you to check out the website. It really does give you a good flavor of what they're doing. And I will tell you, I don't know if you do with this what you want, but I would be honored if you need somebody to talk about business law. I'd be glad to do that, and I'd like to get involved with you because I really do feel like what you're doing is so important for our city. I want to be a part of it. So let me know how I can help.
Alan, I will take you up on that. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure. And then I'll look forward, hopefully in the not too distant future, to see you in the elevator.
I'm there a couple of times a week, and if I see you, I surely wave. But if not, when it's safe to do so, I look forward to meeting you.
All right. Well, if you have some time, come up to 13 for a cup of socially distant coffee.
I will do that.
All right. Well, I really have enjoyed speaking with you. I appreciate your time, Lakethia, and I know that if this is someone's first exposure to LITE Memphis, I know they're as impressed with it as I am. And thank you so much for all you're doing for our young people and for our city.
I appreciate you for those kind words, Alan, and thank you for giving me this platform to share our mission.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And so I also want to thank everyone who's watched or listened to this program. If you've enjoyed it, and let's not kid ourselves, this was a phenomenal podcast because of my guest. Please share it or email it to someone who you think might enjoy it. This is Alan Crone for Ask Alan the podcast. Look forward to seeing, as I said, I look forward to seeing you, Lakethia, around, and I look forward to seeing everybody. And we're gonna close it out now, and I'm gonna hopefully go get my client some justice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.